It's 7 o'clock on the dot. Police in Surrey are searching for a suspect after a 70-year-old woman was sexually assaulted in her own home. Greg Harper joins us now with the details. Greg?
Good morning, Jody. Well, we are here along 28th Avenue in South Surrey, a very quiet neighborhood, lots of big homes here. It's not far from here where a brutal crime has taken place. Police say it was around noon yesterday when a 70-year-old woman was returning home after being out for the morning. Shortly afterwards, a man broke into her home and produced a weapon. He restrained her, demanded cash and other items. He then proceeded to sexually assault his victim while she was bound. He then left with a few items. The senior was able to free herself. She ran to her neighbors where she called police. She did suffer some significant injuries as well. Police are now looking for the suspect. He's described as being between 20 to 30 years of age, 5'8" to 6 feet tall. Police are hoping to get a better description later on today and release that as soon as possible. But for right now, they're looking for whoever did this. Jody?
All right, thanks so much. Greg Harper reporting live for us this morning. One person is dead and another has been injured after another violent incident in Surrey last night. This happened in the Bridgeview area near Hanson and Grosvenor Roads just after 5:30. It's believed one person was stabbed. One person has been taken into custody. The Integrated Homicide Investigation Team has taken over the case. One man is dead after a shooting in Burnaby. RCMP were called to Midlawn Drive yesterday morning near Brentwood Mall after reports of shots fired. Investigators say the victim was treated at the scene but later died from his injuries. Dozens of animals in distress have been seized from a farm in Surrey. 57 horses, dogs and cats are now being cared for by the SPCA. Staff say some were extremely emaciated and were kept without access to water, food or shelter. The SPCA says the large seizure puts a massive strain on its resources. Staff are welcoming any donations to help offset the $20,000 in costs. They're also accepting offers to adopt the animals. In particular, any of the 16 horses were seized. Stage 4 water restrictions begin today in parts of the Sunshine Coast. Here in the Lower Mainland, tinder dry conditions continue in Vancouver, and they're making things difficult for the Park Board. It says it is now struggling to keep the city's trees alive, which have to be watered by hand because of Stage 3 restrictions here. Water bags are helping, but the process of refilling them is labor-intensive. Crews are currently using water from an aquifer below Langara's golf course to truck around the city. Staff say they may have to also use pond water in the unlikely event the region moves to Stage 4 restrictions, like the Sunshine Coast.
It would be extremely difficult because the only watering that happens at Stage 4 with potable water is, of course, the emergency flushing of fire hydrants to make sure the safety of the public. And any potable water use is completely cut off. So that'd be very challenging for us.
An air quality advisory has been issued for eastern parts of the Fraser Valley because of wildfire smoke. Some of the smoke may be coming from this wildfire near Harrison Hot Springs, but most is being blown in from Washington State. More tough questions are expected in an Ottawa courtroom today against Nigel Wright. The Prime Minister's former Chief of Staff is testifying for a second day at the trial of former Conservative Senator Mike Duffy. Yesterday, Wright said he did not tell Harper that someone other than Duffy would repay his disallowed expenses of $90,000. That someone who wrote the check for that amount turned out to be Wright himself.
I did not believe Mr. Duffy's expenses could be justified, and I thought he should repay them. And Mr. Wright was working with Mr. Duffy to make sure he did repay them, and that's what we were told was going to happen. When I found out that was not what happened, that in fact they'd been repaid by somebody else, we made that information public, and I took the appropriate action against people who were involved in that.
International news now. At least 50 people have been killed, including 12 firefighters, in a massive explosion at a warehouse in China. The blast destroyed office buildings and blew out the windows of high-rise apartment buildings several kilometers away. More than 500 people are in hospital, 66 of them listed in serious condition. There are reports the warehouse stored dangerous and chemical goods. A massive truck bomb ripped through a popular food market in Baghdad this morning, killing at least 62 people and wounding 125 others. Islamic State has claimed responsibility for the blast, saying it targeted a gathering place of Shiites and vowed more attacks. The market is especially crowded on Thursdays because Iraqis come from neighboring areas to stock up on food for the weekend. Former U.S. President Jimmy Carter will undergo treatment for cancer at a hospital in Atlanta. The 90-year-old says recent liver surgery found cancer, and that has now spread to other parts of his body. Carter was president from 1977 to 1981. He won the Nobel Peace Prize in 2002. 7:06.